Yo, 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 what is going on, my beautiful brothers and sisters, fellow radiators of love? My name is Jamal Pope, aka J Phoenix, and today we're going to be talking about this moon in Scorpio. It's here at 0 degrees of Scorpio at the time of me making this video, while the sun is in Libra. But of course, by the end of this transit, that sun's going to be peeking his way into Scorpio as well. So right now we're all going to be feeling and responding in more scorpionic ways, but that's not the only thing. We're also thinking more like a Scorpio because Mercury is there, the planet of communication, and Mars is there, so we're going to be acting more like a Scorpio too. So now you guys get to know how we feel like and how we are all walking transformers in many ways, how we take in the information of the world around us and we transform it into a way that makes sense to us. We translate it. Right? Just how Mercury may bring information and may translate information, the moon, what it does in Scorpio especially, is it's talking about translating emotions. How can we transform it, and how can we find the shared commonality and the shared resource there? Because it is the 8th house and this is shared resources. We always have to think of resources as something that's physical. And yes, in a sense, it is, because this is still fixed water, so ice in many ways, right? But there is still a transformative kind of, amorphous quality to it as well, because it is still water. So it's not just the physical, but it's also the metaphysical as well. And the shared aspect of that we're all connected to. How do we transform the way that we take in the world around us, and what does it mean emotionally? What is it conveying to us emotionally? Now, this moon in Scorpio makes a ton of aspects, and we gotta remember that the moon does not like to be in Scorpio, right? It doesn't necessarily want to feel stuck. It doesn't necessarily want to be ice all the time. It rather melt, unless it is in a space where the atmosphere allows it to stay cold forever, but even the ice caps eventually melt. Whether it takes thousands upon thousands of millions of years, ice ages come and go. Ice comes through and it recedes. It goes out and then it recedes. Just like the ocean, just like when you look out, if you're standing on the beach and you look at the water and the waves, high tides and low tides, it's ever flowing. Even when it seems fixed, it is still moving. Even if ice seems fixed and solid in that state, it is still moving. So there is a transformative quality, but in many ways, especially from an emotional standpoint, it is the long haul. So that's what we're looking at. This moon, as soon as it enters into Scorpio, it creates a yod with Neptune in Aries retrograde, as well as Pluto in, not Pluto, as well as Uranus in Gemini, right? So yeah, that Uranus and Gemini sextiling this Neptune, pointing towards this moon. And because it is 0 degrees, this in many ways is the essence of what Scorpio is all about, the essence of all these energies. And what is that communicating? Well, Uranus and Gemini, community, the ideas that come from the community, people kind of coming together, the aha moments. And there's also a bit of a secrecy here too, because Neptune in Aries is looking towards the future and what's new and what's possible to come up. And that moon in Scorpio is about, like, how can we bring these things together and transform something? This is kind of the moment where revolutions actually begin, where they actually start. This kind of quincunx, especially at 0 degrees, is essentially the secret meetings that people had, that the founding fathers had, about the ideas that they had for the country and what they saw. These weren't broadcasted on the news. Of course, that they didn't have that back then. But imagine, if you will, that they had the same technology, because Uranus is technology. Imagine, if you will, that they had the same technology back then that we have now. With the reels and the social media and the TV and the news anchors, this yod, 0 degrees Gemini, 0 degrees Aries, and 0 degrees Scorpio would not be televised. It's not being broadcasted. So we are doing this on an individual level and a collective level. Individually, we're all kind of going in and we are revolutionizing and transforming our understanding of what really is possible. And this is happening in more positive ways and in more negative ways. Because Scorpio is about secrets, it's about investigation, it's about detective work. So right now, that's kind of where we are being called to do. This is the area that we're being called to. Because this is a yacht, and because this is 0 degrees, even though the moon will only be here for a couple of hours, it's still important to talk about. Because that's kicking off this whole energy. And you will see over the course of the next few days, because the moon will be here pretty much from noon Eastern time Tuesday, pretty much all through Wednesday, and pretty much all through Thursday. So that when we wake up on Friday and that moon is in Sag, hopefully we are a little bit more hopeful about what is possible. If we can get through the oscillations of this moon in Scorpio and not allow it to take us so deep into the ocean that we can't breathe anymore. The moon will square the ruler of Scorpio, Pluto, immediately afterwards, signaling that this change, this transformation is challenging. It's worth it, but it is challenging, especially because it is in Aquarius. So we have to realize that this is going to be a collective thing. It's not just within us, but it will affect the world around us in a more sociological kind of way, because it is Aquarius, right? And that great ideas can definitely come out of this, but it is transformative in nature. But this is not necessarily something that's going to be quick. This is something that's going to take a while to manifest. Why is it going to take a while to manifest? Because the planets that the moon is aspecting going into this are planets that take a while to go around the zodiac. Uranus is like 84 years. Neptune is over 100 years. Pluto is over 200 years. This is a long-term thing. This is not short-term, this is long-term. And the fact that the moon starts off by making these aspects to longer-term planets that take a while, that are more transpersonal, can't take it personally. You have to be able to see and feel out the bigger picture. An acorn just hit me. So, after that, what does the moon do? It hits some of the personal planets. What does it do? It conjuncts Mars in Scorpio. And then immediately afterwards, it's going to conjunct Mercury. Why is this important? Well, depending upon especially how you feel things out Tuesday and Wednesday, by the time that we hit those major conjunctions with the moon, Mars, and Mercury, this is very much so where people feel like they need to act before they think about it. This is going to be people not really thinking through situations and acting first and being more impulsive first. And it's kind of interesting too, because what does the moon do? What did the moon do prior to that? It aspected a planet that is in Gemini, which Mercury rules. And it aspects a planet, Neptune, in Aries, which Mars rules. So it's calling that energy back in many ways. We're revisiting it in a way with the rulers of those said planets. And it's going to be asking us like, all right, how do you want to act? This is a conjunction, so the energies sort of add to each other. So depending upon the way that you're feeling going into this, you may act in a way and it's going to be rather impulsive, but it's going to be calling you back to Neptune, right? Which by this time will be in Pisces. So you only get like a small little blip. You're getting reminded of it, but it's going right back to that final degree of the zodiac, that anaretic degree, that final degree, that final moment before the sapling pierces through the soil and actually sees the sunlight. It's going right back into that moment, which is simultaneously the loudest moment and the quietest moment. It's both of them. So that vision that we have, Mars, we're going to want to act on it. But are we thinking it through? Do we have the information that we need? Or are we just acting before we think? Then the moon will hit Mercury. And that's going to be a callback to Uranus. How are those actions and the ways that we're thinking, how is it affecting the other people around us? Is it a revolutionary idea? Or is it a bit crazy and off the wall? Are we having these unique aha moments? But then when you put into practice, is it producing duds? Or do you produce duds until you get it right? That's another way to kind of look at it, right? So bam, bam, conjunction. People acting before they think. People being impulsive and just moving before they actually think things through. And then After all that, what does the moon do? It trines Jupiter in Cancer. The moon much rather be where Jupiter is. Instead, it's in Scorpio, where it doesn't want to be. Much rather be where Jupiter is. And this is going to be that moment where we're kind of feeling and we start to compare ourselves to other people thinking, and Jupiter's very visionary, right? So it's like, man, I wish I had that. I wish I had that. I wish I was where that person was. But where is Jupiter? It's in Cancer. It's not in Pisces. It's in Cancer. So we don't really know the ins and outs of someone else's world and someone else's home and someone else's sanctuary. But we can get into this trap where we start to compare ourselves. And just because it's a trine, just because it's harmonious, doesn't mean it's going to be easy. Because Jupiter is just going to expand whatever you're feeling in that moment. So if you're looking at something and it inspires you to create something similar, then that's that, right? But if you look at something and you're getting down on yourself because you don't think you can manifest that thing, then that's when you get caught into that trap, right? And this can be, like I said, negative or positive, right? It can go both ways, right? It's just going to expand. Jupiter doesn't care necessarily about the emotion itself. It's just going to expand it. Because it's Scorpio, it's going to be a little bit deeper. It's going to be a little more intense. It's happening at 24 degrees, which happens to be where my sun is. My sun is 24 degrees. So 2 plus 4 is 6. It's more Venusian. It's about receiving energy. You know, it gets a little bit more copped up on how we receive things. So even more so, this, and like I said, these aspects happen really quickly, right? But I think we're going to feel them a little bit more intensely just because of all the things that are happening and how fast the moon's going to be hitting spots. So we can get so caught up on comparing ourselves and weighing ourselves emotionally compared to other people and looking at someone else's situation and being like, damn it, I wish I had that, not realizing that we can manifest and create it for ourselves. Or we get into that position and it turns out it's not what we actually wanted. Because then we get the trine to Saturn. Saturn's the lessons, like, oh, what did you learn from all this? What did you learn from this experience? What did you learn from this moon going through Scorpio? What did you learn from this whole thing? Did you act before you thought? Sometimes it's good to kind of take an action before having all of the details out, because sometimes you figure things out as you go along. That's experience, right? You can't have a perfect plan, but at the same time, you don't want to be so rash to where you have absolutely no idea and no plan, and you're not thinking things through. So Saturn is going to be coming in via the trine. It is a harmonious energy, but it's going to be showing us the lessons of how to transform this reality. There's like a big triangulation happening with all this water energy. And through this triangulation, we can find this point, this center, if you will. I'm trying to paint this metaphor. I know that it's very out there, but we can find this sort of quintessential spark of like, okay, these are the lessons that I'm learning. This is what I'm feeling. This is how I'm transforming it. This is what's possible. But then, of course, the moon will make that last trine to Neptune. So, and that's such a crazy thing. The moon will make that last trine to Neptune. So it aspects Neptune twice throughout this whole thing. And then that's when we realize, oh shit, we're back in the old world again. Can you maintain your vision of the new world despite getting plunged back into waters that you've already been in? It's almost like taking a fish from one pond, putting it in a larger, newer pond, and then removing that fish and putting it back into the previous pond. And now that fish is going around to all the other fishes in that pond and it's saying, yo, look at what I came across. Look at what I found. Look at what I learned over here. This is possible and that's possible. Psh, the other fish are going to be looking at that fish and like, that's crazy. That's not even possible. Then that moon dips into Sag, and we have to have the courage to continue to believe in the vision that we had while the moon was making all these aspects. So it's going to be a bit hot and cold. That moon is going to oscillate. Your emotions are going to be a bit up and down. Your emotions, they're going to be tied to your thoughts. to your actions, to the way that you expand things, to your lessons. You're going to be feeling this more and more and more on a deeper level. Now, hopefully by the end of it, when we're put back into that Neptune going back into Pisces, and we're thrown back into that old pond that we've been swimming in for such a long time, hundreds of years, if you say, we have to have the courage and the bravery to be like, you know what, there's a new path, there's a new vision, and I caught a glimpse of it. And now we have to take that and we have to figure out a way to recreate it, in a sense, in a world that's going to want you to go backwards, in a world that's forcing us to look back in the mirror, look at memories, look at nostalgia, and ask ourselves, where are the biases that are laid throughout this entire maze? We are going back into the maze. After being taken out of the maze, we're going back into the maze. This is the encore. Right now, we thought we were going to a new movie, a new play, but this is actually the encore. We're about to go into the encore presentation, and we're about to get disclosures, truths, hints, and we're not going to get all of it, but we're going to get enough that's going to make us question our reality and be like, okay, is this really all there is? Or is there something more to this? That's going to do it for your Moon and Scorpio video. I trust that this message will assist you on your journey, and I will see you all on the next one. Later.